Can OpenAI actually charge $20,000 a month for agents? Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. Today we have a story that honestly isn't even really all that big. It's a leak from a deck that says a thing that might happen in the future but isn't for sure happening. But the amount of conversation that it has generated with wildly divergent points of view actually gives us a little bit of a preview into a very near future and serves as a jumping off point for a really interesting conversation around how agents are going to be integrated into the workforce and how they are going to be priced. So the specific catalyst for this conversation is a report in the information that OpenAI is planning on charging up to $20,000 a month for agents. Now, this all comes, it appears, from conversations and decks for investors. What's notable about that is simply the fact that OpenAI have, of course, an incentive to suggest the high end of what they think the pricing might be for these agents, given that those price tags are probably embedded in their rather high revenue projections. So what did the information actually see? Well, apparently OpenAI is planning on selling low-end agents, which are the equivalent of what they call high-income knowledge workers, for around $2,000 per month. Mid-tier agents for specifically software development could cost $10,000 a month, and their highest tier of agents, acting according to these sources as PhD-level research assistants, could cost $20,000 a month. The information source says that OpenAI expects somewhere between a fifth and a quarter of the company's revenue to ultimately come from agent products. As you might imagine, these big eye-bulging numbers definitely caught people's attention. Chubby on X writes, "A corporation will only pay these prices if it receives a corresponding value from the agents, and I trust OpenAI to deliver. In any case, these costs indicate that the upcoming agents, like the software engineering agent, are really so good that they can easily replace humans and are more productive in doing so. Otherwise, the prices would not be justifiable." And this is, I think, one really important takeaway. If OpenAI actually does bring an agent to market that is priced at anywhere near these prices, it is absolutely priced in a way that companies are going to have to view it as labor replacement. Many pointed out, though, as did Hugh Pham here, in case you've forgotten, most PhD students, including the brightest stars who can do way better work than any current LLMs, are not paid $20,000 a month. Saleha Kamal, PhD, writes, "Instead of an OpenAI agent, you can hire me for the affordable price of $10,000 a month." Alexander Doria didn't really buy the framing. OpenAI should really stop with the PhD level routine. If you're selling $20,000 a month for some software model bundled agent for targeted industries, just say so. Gergelia Rose points out problems with OpenAI's plan to charge so much for agents. 1, Anthropic is far ahead in coding capability. They are also cheaper for agents as well. 2, a PhD makes a fraction of the $20,000 per month. This is just nonsensical charging. 3, competition will charge a fraction. I think when it comes to the Anthropic and coding piece, let's hold that aside because you have to think that OpenAI is planning on being at parity or state of the art when it comes to those things. Whether they can get there or not, who knows? But I think that this pricing is sort of predicated upon that. When it comes to the PhD making a fraction of $20K stuff, this one is hard for me to really analyze without having seen the actual materials. My guess is that OpenAI is either not really explaining accurately what they mean when they say PhD level researcher, or it's being lost in translation. To the extent that they're charging $20,000 a month, which is $250,000 a year for an agent, you have to think that this thing is not just a one-to-one replacement for a researcher, even a really high-end researcher. It has to be seen as something that can do far more. In other words, this isn't $20K replacing one person. This is $20K who's replacing, 5 people or something like that. I should also caveat right now that when I say replacement, I'm talking about the dynamics of how people are thinking about the pricing, not advocating A, that companies fire their people for agents, or B, even predicting that that's how it's going to play out. As I've said many times, I think that the companies that succeed in this next era are going to be those who realize that they can do way more with AI and literally invent the future, and that the companies who just view it as cost savings are going to have a very short-term gain followed by incredible destruction and out-competition. But still, I think it's an important heuristic to understand this pricing as based on the human labor equivalent that it could do the work of. However, one of the things that I think is going to be really difficult is to try to ground the price of these agents in terms of the value they deliver as opposed to the cost to run them. Clearly, OpenAI is thinking that they're going to be able to say, hey, this agent can do as much as your other labor, but at half to a tenth of the cost. However, as many pointed out, including Gergelia here, it's very likely that competition is going to come in and use cost as a strategic advantage. If running that agent doesn't cost anywhere near close to $20K, and someone can offer it for more like $500 a month, you better believe that they're going to. Now, will OpenAI's agents be so much better that they're worth the premium? It's totally possible. But will they be worth a 40x premium, a 4x premium, a 2x premium, a 50% premium? That's what will remain to be seen. My base case is that competition is going to drive the cost down radically. And as I've expressed before, such as in the Doctor Strange episode, I think that the paradigm of thinking about one-to-one replacement for task done by human to task done by agent is going to be a very, very temporary way of thinking when we look back when the story of agents is all written. Some point out that for those companies that are going to charge less, it's actually a gift that OpenAI wants to charge so much. Onvats writes, OpenAI launching models at $2K to $20K is going to act like free marketing for startups building vertical AI agents. Not every business can afford a $20K agent, but most can afford $500. No better time to build than this. I think this is absolutely true. I think that the market is going to fill in options for all budgets very, very quickly. I also think that because the cost of building a startup is coming down so much, you really are going to see hyper-verticalization and really, really specific customization that sits on top of models that, if not state-of-the-art, are pretty damn close and either has access to specialized data or, more likely, specialized knowledge and UI UX patterns that fit within the business routines or perhaps the other types of software that specific verticals are already using. Indeed, Dinos writes, to the people freaking out about the OpenAI 2K, 20K plan leak, you realize you can just build stuff too, right? There's no magical moat that's stopping you from creating your own agentic system that does the same thing for your domain. And I think more than ever, people are actually going to enact this. Just yesterday, I heard about a banker who couldn't get any of the AI tools he wanted to use approved, so he just rolled his own really basic versions that he could use on his own computer. And the one other part of the story is that I think, while OpenAI is saying right now that 20 to 25% of their revenue will be coming from agents, I wouldn't be surprised if they think, or at least have a casual inclination to think, that it might end up as even more of that. As we see the commoditization of foundation models happen in real time, where no one really has a state-of-the-art advantage for more than a few weeks or a few months, companies like OpenAI are going to have to own some part of the customer experience. Now, OpenAI, for their part, has a pretty serious stranglehold on the consumer chatbot space right now. Obviously, even Anthropic and Google haven't really been able to make a dent in ChatGPT. The biggest competitor that they've had really is DeepSeek, because DeepSeek made a much better model available for free. Anthropic, as we've talked about, is clearly trying to lock in the software engineer audience and leveraging the advantage that they do seem to have there from a technical perspective to really anchor their business in that area. I think OpenAI is going to aggressively go after high business value agents. I think we're going to see them have specific customized vertical sales agents and likely agents for a bunch of other verticals as well. I don't think in this case that means that people who are building vertical agents should just stop. I think that it's going to be a rich competitive landscape with lots of vectors for competition, price just being one of them. And as I mentioned before, the opportunities for incredibly niche customization are going to be more viable than ever before. Still, the whole conversation points to a really interesting moment at the very dawn of this agentic era, and it will be interesting to see by the time these agents actually come to market what the price really is. For now, that's going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Until next time, peace